We're back here at First, the Last, the Nerdum. We here. All right, cut. We here at First, cut. We here at the First, the Last, the Nerdum are back with Flipping the Pages with ML and Tom, the show where we step away from the screen and dive headfirst into the world of comic books. Each episode, we crack open a series or collection, talk about its story, its creators, and whether it earns a place on your shelf or ours. This week, we're taking a look at DC's new compact comics line designed to make iconic and influential stories more accessible to new readers. And this week, our spotlight is on Catwoman, the Trial of Catwoman, a defining story for Selena Kyle that helped reshape the character into a complex, morally gray anti-hero we know today. Written by Ed Brubaker with art by Darwyn Cooke, this run strips Catwoman down to her essentials: street-level crime, sharp dialogue with a grounded noir sensibility that pulls Gotham out of the shadows and into something raw and real. It's less about capes and cosmic stakes and magic, and more about identity, survival, and choosing your own rules. We'll be talking about how this story works in the compact format and why it's such a strong entry point for new readers, and whether the Trial of Catwoman still stands as one of the best takes on Selena Kyle. So grab a book, turn a page, and follow the trail. This is Flipping the Pages with ML and Tom, right here on the First, Last, the Nerdum.
Yay.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I could have, I'll get stumbled my way through it, but no, it is, all joking aside, this one was fun, and I'm glad. This takes me and Tom a while to get dialed up here. But with that in mind, I want to say, first, to pay the bills really quick, you can find us at www.firstlastnerdum.com. As always, also home base on YouTube, at First Last Nerdum. And I believe you can also to play tag here with Tom on Reddit.
Yeah, under First Last Nerdum, I'll promote our stuff on various subreddits. The ones that I'm not banned or deleted from. I'm also on X under that as well, First Last Nerdum. And I'll promote our stuff there as well, along with the other nerdy stuff. And you're on X as well, right?
I am that I am at Sofa King Jewish _, and you can find me and Tom. Sometimes we promote this or that, and sometimes we have this or that chit chat. But with that being said, this week was Catwoman. Now you had picked this one out, and the cool thing
Yeah.
about this is the one. Yeah, let me highlight you,
Mhm.
so we can get a good. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this kind of manga size. You know, with this, although it's read traditionally, I know with mangas that you read them from the back, but but yeah, it's a interesting size. You, obviously, it's a kind of a smaller page size, so and it was written for regular comic book size. So sometimes especially with when I was reading Hush this way, with the small print size, it's kind of harder to read, especially if you're having to put your reading glasses on. Sometimes it gets a little small, but there's a couple of times during this, but for the most part, this one reads just fine. Obviously, if you're reading it digitally, you could probably make it as big as you want, zoom in and enhance. But reading the physical version, yeah, sometimes it's
Yes.
kind of a grab bag whether or not it's done. I think Marvel has their own kind of essentials line, that's a
Mm-hmm.
smaller format, although they're a little bit bigger. We talked about Old Man Logan, that one there wasn't any issues, but with these being a slightly smaller, it does sometimes causes issue with print size as far as the words. But on this one, again, I didn't find any truly issues. I think there's a story towards the end here where it's her friend. her coworker, so to speak. And then it's written sort of like a handwritten style with hers, and
Hmm.
with it being small, sometimes it was harder to figure out what she was saying. There was like a quiz that she was taking that was super small. But other than that, for the most part, it was pretty good. But yeah, I selected this one because I didn't read it back in the day. I think Darwyn Cooke, his artwork is a little bit more cartoonish than I normally like back then. So I it didn't hit with me. I know there was a coworker back in the day that was really big into Catwoman that really enjoyed this series that we worked with, but when it was coming out, I didn't know who Ed Brubaker was. I didn't know who Darwyn
Hmm.
Cooke was. But I've since become a huge fan of Ed Brubaker. Unfortunately, Darwyn Cooke is no longer with us. He died a bit too soon. But I've become a fan of his artwork. But it's Ed Brubaker. He's made a name for himself since as a kind of a crime writer. He did write Civil War. He did his time with
Hmm.
the superheroes. He also wrote the Central there. But yeah, he's written all of the
Great, great
superhero
writer.
people. But
Yeah.
and it's kind of made his name for himself, especially with Civil War. But yeah, he's since gone fully into um, neo noir, crime noir style writing with sometimes with supernatural leanings, but like his criminal series is straight up pulp um, noir kind of stories that are wonderful. And especially with that first graphic novel story that's starts out the trial of Catwoman.
Hmm.
That's more of a kind of a just straight ahead heist with very little you know superhero stuff in it. And I think that's where he really shines is when he goes full in on crime, and with Selena Kyle,
Well,
Catwoman
it's so
being
much
yes,
a perfect avenue. I mean, street level, ground level. Catwoman.
yeah,
Faker death. Yeah,
yeah,
like intrigue out the yin yang. I mean, it's awesome. I I knew nothing. I knew Catwoman, but like, yeah, like the kind of the 60s purple, whatever, wham bam, kind of pow, the not the more mature leather, inspiration, the more mature depth, other than a foil or an occasional thing with Batman is side character as she comes into her own. And that's what I love about comic books too in general. Like they can always take a character and they don't necessarily elevate them, but they just kind of, can you still see me?
yeah.
Okay.
Or,
Anyway,
well,
I'll hopefully my camera.
you're frozen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That it's not just me. Okay. Sorry about that. What? I'll keep talking like, well, Tom, anyway, sorry about that. But anyway, that's what I love about comic books are, you just don't know quite where you're going to go with this. And I had no idea.
Mhm,
I really, really enjoyed this one, and I'm glad you picked it. I would have not necessarily maybe picked this one,
mhm,
but then again, not because I don't like it or it's not good. It's just because I'm not familiar, or
right.
whatever. This is why you got to give things a chance, and why I do love the DC lineup,
Yeah,
because of the
yeah,
depth. And I'll hand it
yeah.
back to you while I screw around with my camera here.
Yeah, and with comic books, a lot of times you do judge a book by its cover, by its art. That's what you immediately see. So this one kind of hides the some of the fun of it. You look at it, and it's kind of like I said, it's kind of got like a cartoonish vibe to it. This comprises the graphic novel Catwoman, Selena's Big Score, and then the first 9 issues of the regular comic book, but also has
Mm,
some
Three.
backup stories from Detective Comics mixed in with it as well.
I saw
So
that.
it's an
Yeah.
interesting mix of things. But yeah, the cartoonish nature of the art, it kind of hides the grim and kind of noir kind of feel to the comic book it is. You really have to just kind of have faith in it and start reading it to really get the vibe. You would normally see this drawn more grim and dirty. But there's sort of a levity that happens with the more cartoonish
It's
look
the
to it.
style. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like a
it
framework kind
y-
of.
yeah, you would think, it would be two things that wouldn't marry well together, but they do actually quite marry very well together. You really, after you've read some of it, and the first 9 issues, I think Darwin only did like the first 5 or 6, and then the last few is done by a different artist, and you really miss that style of the artist seems to be kind of aping Darwin's kind of look to it, but you can't copy that. So you miss you kind of lose a little bit of the charm on those final few issues that you read, because you really have gotten used to the writing style of Ed Brubaker plus the art of Darwyn Cooke. And then now it was kind of a joy, because with the first few issues, there Darwin draws it, and then you have a different inker that goes back and finishes the art. And I believe the first few issues of the regular series, he works with Michael Allred, which is one of my favorite artists. And then on the back end of those stories, Paul Pope did the cover art of some of those, and Paul Pope is another one of my favorite artists. So it was a joy that those two guys were there, that I didn't know or were in there. It was nice to see that. But again, like I think the strongest story, I think, is the graphic novel that starts it, Selena's Big Score, because you've got like the classic crime story elements. You've got a heist, and heist, there those stories are a dime a dozen, but the fact that it's Catwoman, she's morally gray, she's just perfect for a heist story. And
Right.
you do have Batman show up a couple of times, but he doesn't muddy the waters. He's just
No.
sort of there as a secondary character. And it's just fun to see, because both Catwoman and Selena Kyle are both dead at the beginning, or presumed dead at the beginning of the story. So she's not dressing up as Catwoman because she doesn't want to blow her cover. She's
Right.
wearing wigs, and you've got especially with the heist story, you got your main character, but then you also have to have these interesting backup characters. There's like a old mentor slash love interest that gets pulled back in, and it gives you sort of a back history of Catwoman that we didn't know previously. And their relationship is quite interesting. Really fits into the genre of crime fiction, where love gone wrong, mentor that has been wronged by the student, and
Right. Right.
maybe coming together to sort of maybe mend old ways, or maybe follow up on past betrayals. So there's a lot of emotional things there that you can really sink your teeth into. And it kind of reads like a pulp novel, but also with the fun art and story.
I was gonna say too, to kind of just run through the character list real quick, like
Mhm,
Slam Brady.
mhm,
He's like the hard boiled relic. Like the old school
mhm,
PI.
mhm,
Holly Robinson is like Selena's protege.
mhm,
Um, the disposable people that Selena fights for. You had the Black Mask. This kind of this 1930s esque, kind of villain, or also like kind of like a C tier, D tier
mhm,
kind of Batman, villain that kind of becomes the main protagonist. Or excuse me, Miss Detective Driller, right?
yeah.
Um, right. Excuse me.
Mhm,
Messed up. That's the gumshoe that I was thinking of.
mhm,
But I really enjoyed the artwork. And yeah, like it's I just I didn't know that there is like such a thing to be had for like a crimey kind of noir kind of mystery kind of
mhm.
something's afoot, something's going on, and we're in the middle of it, and we're watching these. characters evolve,
Mhm.
or as they try to keep their cover.
Yeah, yeah, and, uh, one of the things, I was in the comic book shop the other day, and, the owner and, the guy that's, the main guy of the comic book shop, they were kinda lamenting the fact that, Ed Brubaker doesn't really write, the atmosphere is ripe for a, superhero crime story, uh, you know, why won't Marvel kind of rope him back in to do another great crime story involving like a superhero or whatnot? Who wouldn't love a Daredevil comic book written by Ed Brubaker and sort of the crime because he's sort of a street level superhero that would work well with Ed Brubaker. But to be honest, I think Ed Brubaker's kind of gone beyond that, and he's really getting into writing his own sort of crime stories, and he's got Amazon has got their big budget new TV show based off of his comic book Criminal, and he's one of the showrunners for it. So, it may be kind of beneath him to go back to these superheroes, but there's that time where he was writing these stories, and they're lots of fun. There's just a lot of cool little stories that at least we got a few of those, and with this I really I really like the yeah, you got the big heist one, that I kind of favor, and then the first few issues of Catwoman, he works with Darwyn Cooke, and they kind of tell a sort of a serial killer story, crime story, where you think that the killer is maybe Clayface, but it's actually a different type of type of villain, a new villain. That can manipulate his looks, much like in the vein of Clayface. But yeah, the art is just
Yeah, sorry, it took me a
it's
minute to,
yeah to
I had
really
to
load it up.
I had to yeah, load it up, thank you, yeah, it just took a minute, but it really it is this is the thing also too that I'm amazed that there can be so many different styles, like where you have that ink, that kinda Saturday morning comics,
Mhm,
ink dot kinda thing as its own thing, or you have a more serious, more very serious graphic art that you see that is
mhm.
taking and making a serious story and building a serious world.
Yeah, and,
That I
on
love.
the surface, it kinda looks, a bit cartoony, but, when you really dive into the page, it's actually got that grit and grime that a nice noir story should have. And there's violence in this as well, just looking at the surface of it. Doesn't look like that's the case, but some of the people in this story have meet some bad endings, and it doesn't pull any punches for that. But yeah, the art is really engaging, and like I said, there's more to it than what it looks like on the surface. Whenever you get kind of into it, there's all these little details that you can kind of get lost in the page on. I will say that the DC Compact series is very affordable. It's like $10 for the at regular price for this, and this one is a little over 300 pages, so you get a lot of bang for your buck. If you went into the comic book shop today and grabbed an issue off the shelf, um, you might run into a little bit of sticker shock. Your basic comic book now, the cheapest. Now you can find some image comic books like say Spawn for $3, but that's kind of gone by the wayside, and more than likely you're going to pay either $4 or $5 for a single issue of a comic book. So for the price of a couple of comic books, you're getting a 300 page story that's a couple of different stories. So like I said, lot of bang for the buck. Like I said, it's kind of a more compact size, and the it's not newsprint paper, but it's very similar. It's not glossy. It's very um I'd say, yeah, a lot of the comic books back in the day were printed on this type paper. But yeah, it's like I said, not real glossy, but it's nice to the touch. And like I said, very very cheap. Like I said, $10. And so even if you know that kind of leads you more to taking risk as far as so maybe you like it, maybe you won't, but it's just $10. So but yeah, like I said, this is, if you're anywhere near crime fiction and you like those type stories, this is a very very engaging story. And again, it's kind of playing at the same time with the tropes of a superhero story. And it's a different take on uh Selena Kyle. This is the more Selena Kyle of today. This is where they really kind of nailed down the character. Previously, she was kind of written as on again, off again, with the relationship with Batman, but was always in relation to Batman. This really kind of gets into her backstory and the various supporting characters in her world. It kind of fleshes all of that out, and I think this is the take on Catwoman that has persisted to today. And a lot of different writers, for better for worse, have kind of played with this. But I think this is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, iterations of Catwoman, and it's very telling why they keep going back to Ed Brubaker's and Darwyn Cooke's run on Catwoman. This is where it starts. And yeah, it's very engaging. It it's was written back in the 2000s, but it's kind of has a timeless nature
60s.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got like a
Kind of
kind of
kind of
a
nice.
displaced in time sort of a look to it.
Yeah, it's really good. She's more human. Selena, she's more drawn out, literally,
Yeah.
figuratively. Like there's just something more there. Um, and it's got everything. Hiding in a safe house on the lam, a cover up, all that kind of violence, action. It's really good.
Yeah, they're playing against the odds, but Selena, she's a tough cookie with a head on her shoulders, to kind of plan out and play on the fly. You know, playing on the cat aspect of her having more than 9 lives. The people around her tend to meet bad ends, but somehow she kind of lucks out and makes it through. So it's playing on different tropes, but yeah, it's true to a crime story, even though you're dealing with characters of a superhero in nature, and it doesn't bend or break to the point where either or don't work. They all work perfectly fine. And it's great that DC took a risk and let Ed Brubaker play around with it and tell these stories. Um, you know, Back in the day, it wasn't unusual for a male writer to write a female character.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of gotten a little bit more segregated. If you have if you're going to make a big splashy female character driven comic book, for better or for worse, now it's more times than not, it's going to be written by a female writer.
Yeah, they like to
Yeah,
try to fill in the
pair it
gaps
up.
with
Yeah, yeah,
lived
and
experiences and
that's just the time, day and age of this. So we're lucky that we got this Ed Brubaker version of Catwoman before all of
good
that kind of kind of happened.
good story, good strong character development, all of it. Good art, obviously the artwork too, to back it up. But it all plays a part. Um,
Yeah, very very interesting, engaging side characters. Whenever various ones of them kind of meet their end, you're kind of sad to see them go. One of the persisting characters that Sam or Bradley, I always want to call him Slim, but it's Slam.
yeah, I know. That's why I was tripping over it myself, but I was like, "Well, was that right?" No, it's right. It's a comic book. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's sort of like that gumshoe private eye kind of character. And evidently, I guess that
Private
he
dick.
had there's a kind of parallel story of his that evidently was backup stories in Detective Comics. new after the big score. There's his section of it that kind of, for the most part, kind of plays in tandem with the big score. So it's kind of fun to see his version of it. And it's fun that Ed Brubaker can kind of tackle it on those two different angles. I think that's the, like I said, the big score and that backup story with Slam are some of the more engaging stories. I think when they went to the regular comic book, it was the serial killer story was engaging, but it was more by the numbers. And then that secondary story that kind of focused on Holly was probably the weakest of the bunch. That kind of got more sort of a corrupt cop type thing. That one didn't engage me as much as what came before it. Not to say it was bad, it was just
No,
not as engaging.
yeah, no, I could see where that could work for somebody where it's the emotional resonance of, Selena, and then Holly and Slam, in that trio, like where it feels like they're, all these castaways,
Hmm.
but we have each other, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but there I'm a little bit more on the other end of the spectrum of like the Selena tales,
Hmm.
where it's pretty much around her.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with expanding it, but they do it very well, and it's not just Batman. It's not like, like there had to be Batman every, fifth page,
Hmm.
to make sure that keep the spinning, because people are really only here for Batman. No, and I like that, that you can have a Catwoman, that can carry a solo book without needing a Batman cameo at all or whatever to
Hmm.
make it relevant. I love that, also too, because
Yeah.
you get better exposure to, if you do a little background or you catch an interest in some of these characters, they have like really long history that goes back a really long time ago.
Yeah, and when it comes to DC, Batman was always my go-to, and everything around his world, Gotham, is engaging. At this point you
Mhm.
have a Bat family, and Catwoman's definitely involved in the family. Yeah, his son Damien is in was born from a different relationship, but Catwoman, him. I don't know if they ever got married. There's that Tom King run that went on for, I think, almost, it was planned for 100 issues. I think it ended about 80 issues into it. But there's a comic book commentator I used to watch that kind of um kind of complained that was more of a mommy issues Batman,
Oh, wow.
where it really got into the weeds with Catwoman being the mommy and telling Batman what to do. Whereas this, like you said, it's a story where Batman's just a side character, and it's really her world, and her really kind of coming into her own. And there's no man that can completely define Selena Kyle. She's her own character in this, and it's, like I said, it's very engaging, very enjoyable. Yeah, even if your Catwoman is not your favorite character, the way it's written by Ed Brubaker and drawn
So
by
fun.
Darwyn
Yeah.
Cooke, you're really going to get engaged with it. And this in you know this iteration of Selena Kyle Catwoman is probably written best this way. So this is your starting point, this is a great starting point.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and there's even more stories too beyond this one too, but, this one is like, I love that they picked this one and the fact that you can get it for, $10.
Yeah. Yeah, very affordable. Like I said, if you go into the comic book
Just
shop
trade-offs,
today, you're
right?
yeah, you're gonna end up with just a couple of if you're gonna grab a floppy off the shelf. Like I said, there is some sticker price. I picked up one last week, and I was wondering. I had my stack of comics. It was a little more than I normally would pay, and I was looking, and one of them was $6 and it was a black and white comic book. I was like, come on, man. What's with this pricing? Regular 20, I think it was a little over 20 pages, but yeah, I was like, wow, $6, huh? Whereas, pay a couple more dollars on this one, and you got, like I said, a 300 plus page story, 336 page. Does this guy give a little review of it as well?
Yeah, I just came across it when I was doing a search, and I always like to be good neighbors and share out that those will be down available. I don't think I've seen this, but I'll maybe they have a good review. I don't
Yeah,
know, but they do the same thing we
maybe.
do. But
Yeah,
uh, spread the love. But all the more better. Oh, good grief! Sorry, I had to check my phone. Anyway, yeah, this one was fun. This is I like to take time. I love the style of it. And I probably will be doing a lot more Ed uh Brubaker
yeah.
crime noir pulp whatever
Hmm.
taking a um trip
Yeah, I
down that.
think he's right up your alley. Also,
Oh yeah,
Darwyn Cooke,
yeah.
he's also written and drawn various things. I believe he did um, Justice League: A New Frontier, which is really good. Which is sort of an alternate history of the Justice League. Like I said, Darwin has since passed away, kind of gone before his time. I think he's definitely left an impression on comic books, and the gifts that he's given us is quite good. But yeah, it's too bad that we didn't get more from him. But yeah, this is one of those gems where, like I said, it was right at the beginning of the Ed and Darwin's career, and this is sort of a career defining moment for them.
Right on, right on. Well, I think we're coming up to the end.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I've been Mike.
I'm Tom, and if you guys have a graphic novel or a comic book story that's
Yeah.
very near and dear to you that you think we should cover, let us know. We've been covering like the DC Compacts and the
Hmm.
Marvel Premiere Essentials or whatever they call their stuff. But we're not limiting ourselves to that. Just whatever. This happened to be like the new thing, so I grabbed a handful of them, so we're kind of going through those. But yeah, it could be any type of graphic novel, any story. Just has to be fun and entertaining.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Please let us know. Also, what other suggestions you have or what
Mhm,
your favorite book is as well, too.
mhm. Yep. Are you a DC person, a Marvel person,
Yeah.
or something?
Dark
Are you
Horse,
one of those indie
Image.
guys out there that
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
the indie comics?
All right. Yeah. I've been Mike.
Now, Dom, see you in the funny pages.